All right, well, welcome everyone to the Technology Source Virtual Roundtable. And this month, we're talking about how the telecoms are hanging up on POTS services. I'm your host, Rob Olson, Chief Revenue Officer of TechnologySource. I don't know how much you know about TechnologySource, but we're a solution partner that builds unique best-in-breed solutions for our trusted advisors and their clients. By leveraging a network of over 500 providers in managed IT, cybersecurity, telecom, mobility, AI, and analytics, we design strategies tailored to reduce operational expenses, improve efficiencies, and transform the customer experience. Our focus is creating solutions as unique as the challenges our clients face. So I went the wrong way there. Each month, TechnologySource presents the virtual roundtable webinar. During the webinar, we highlight one of our curated and unique solutions that our trusted advisors and their clients have found extremely valuable. This month is no different, as we will be discussing the sunset of traditional POTS lines, its impact, and review replacement options. Today's experts join us from SpectraTel, a leading provider of network services. A little bit about SpectraTel before we get started. SpectraTel is a human-crafted, enterprise-optimized, managed network service provider that combines more than 25 years of experience with cutting-edge technology to deliver tailored solutions across cloud communications, connectivity, managed mobility, and professional services. Their team leverages advanced analytics, AI, and ML to turn complex network data into actionable insights, ensuring high performance, reliability, and cost efficiency for multi-location businesses. Supported by deep relationships with leading tech providers, SpectraTel crafts strategic, future-proof networks that reduce downtime, enhance communications, and empower organizations to focus on growth. It's a lot of stuff. So our panel experts today, Jessica Anderson, Area Vice President. Welcome, Jessica. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Thank you for having us
Coming to us from Salt Lake City. We're at
today.
Yep. Brandon Allison, Channel Director of SpectraTel out in Southern California, and then Craig Collister, Sales Engineer, SpectraTel. Craig, where are you at? What part of the country are you sitting in?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
You're down the street. Well, good. Well, welcome
Yep.
everyone. This POTS transformation, this end of life, this sunset is weighing heavily, and I think we've been talking about it for some time, but I think we're at the point now of no return where we have to start making some decisions, right? We can't sit idly by because pricing is going and all the other impacts to the business. So let's start with the big picture. What is happening in the telecommunications industry with regards to traditional POTS lines today? That's plain old telephone service. And why are carriers accelerating the retirement?
Well, that's a great question, Rob. So copper is kind of a thing of the past, and the providers are looking to get rid of their copper infrastructure, and therefore POTS lines are becoming a thing of the past. POTS lines are very much needed, though, for life safety, life critical, applications. And therefore, we're going to be talking today about how we can migrate those POTS lines that customers currently have today into the next generation of POTS transformation as a service. And that's ultimately what SpectraTel is here to talk about today. And we're very excited at this opportunity. So thank you. With almost 30 years in the business. We originally started as a POTS aggregator back in the mid 90s. So we have already transformed all of our existing customers. We've done that now. We've had that completed for quite some time. So when thinking about a provider to make that migration with, we have the expertise and the experience. And we're really excited to share that with you today.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes in this space. The FCC kind of made a ruling in 2025, March of 2025, that the carriers can now discontinue services with just 90 days notice. And
And AT&T just announced last month that they are sunsetting all POTS lines. So they're really the first,
yeah,
and everybody else is pretty much going to follow suit. So now is the time to get serious about those, critical POTS lines and identify and figure out how you're going to make that migration. And we're absolutely there to help.
absolutely. So many businesses still rely on these lines for critical services, obviously fire alarms, elevators, security systems. What risks do they face as carriers phase out POTS support, as you just mentioned?
Yeah, well, we're talking about life safety. So obviously, those are very critical lines. So if they're no longer being supported by the Lex, that's a problem. So
Mm.
let's say we have an elevator line or a fire alarm line that needs support, how are you going to get the support if the Lex are no longer supporting those lines? That's why it's very important to start having these conversations about migrating today and looking at box solutions, POTS over broadband, any of the certified options that are available for these life safety critical lines.
Yeah, one of the things that I think makes your solutions so important for consideration is the fact that, if you can't just put an ATA, you can't just
Nope,
put something like, you have to have something that meets building codes. And I think that's
absolutely.
something that is got to be part of your checklist as you make decisions on what you're going to do for replacement solutions. It's got to meet building code. And
Yep.
building code, you have to have a certain number of hours. That your system will remain up in the event of a power failure. And I believe yours is 24 hours, so it meets those building codes.
Absolutely. Well, we have a handful of solutions, which makes us very unique when having these conversations as well, because at the end of the day, we want to have those conversations with our customers, identify the needs at each and every location, and create a hybrid approach. We have a number of box solutions that we offer and a handful of POTS transformation options as well. So when we have these critical conversations, we can do our due diligence and ultimately provide that solution that is hybrid and cost optimized. And we're really looking at each individual location and its requirements when building this handcrafted solution.
Craig, you want to add anything to that, or do you think we've covered everything that our audience needs to know?
Yeah, I mean, it's and I'll talk a little bit about this a little bit later, but there's a lot of development that's gone on over the years to make these technologies be able to be certified. We've had issues in the past with traditional ATAs for many years not being able to support, life safety because, the voltage on the lines and, we just didn't have that. They just never really seemed to, fit the bill or really provide that quality uptime. So now these devices and these technologies have a lot of provisioning on the back end, sort of like the secret sauce at the application server level, where the software is able to solve a lot of those issues. Provisioning different types of lines. Like an alarm line is provisioned differently than a fax line. And we were never able to do that with traditional ATAs. And so each one of these technologies has to go through certification with like, fire marshals and, like California has, certain, fire certifications, all these technologies have to go through that. And it's all done, with this, next generation technology. And that's really how we're able to, accomplish that.
Okay, great. I keep doing this, keep going the wrong direction. I'm so sorry. How have rising costs for legacy POTS lines impacted organizations' operating budgets? And what trends are you seeing amongst businesses still using them?
I'm going to speak to that because I've had a lot of conversations with prospects and customers, and I have seen a lot of invoices, right, from some of our customers. We go in and do a full audit, identify what current spend is today, do a side-by-side comparison utilizing SpectraTel for POTS transformation as a service, and it is incredible what we have seen. I personally have seen POTS lines as high as $1,500 per line. So what we're seeing when we're putting together these audits and these side-by-side comparisons is that when you make that switch to the new technology, you're not only modernizing, you're also saving quite a bit of money as well. And of course, it's fully supported and monitored by SpectraTel. So you have one dedicated team within our organization. We do have a specialized POTS transformation as a service team that works very closely with all of our PTAS customers. And they are fabulous, fantastic, and work with our clients all the way through provisioning. So how is this impacting our customers? Back to your panelist question. We're looking to ultimately save them money, put them in a new solution, and ultimately protect them so that their lines are still being supported.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've learned about the SpectraTel solutions is the price points typically save your customers between 30 and 50%. And I think most businesses would like to reallocate that towards cybersecurity at this point. So that's always
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely. Or their network or their security or whatever that might look like, right? Take those savings and utilize it for something that matters to the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right, let's shift to solutions. How does SpectraTel's POTS replacement service address the reliability and compliance concerns businesses have with retiring POTS lines?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So, as I was saying, with this next generation technology being able to support these life safety lines, each one of our services, our POTS, transformation services, have gone through their certification process. We actually have three different POTS transformation options. We have POTS over broadband, which is your traditional cable line comes in and you have your ATA on there, but it's again a next gen ATA and it has battery backup. Um, that's one. The other is UMA, and we actually were really instrumental in helping UMA develop and get through some of their certifications because we knew we wanted to bring them on as a partner because they had great value and great technology, but they were still a little bit short on some of the certifications that we knew we needed because we'd already started doing this, even before UMA had rolled it out. So we worked with them, kind of helping with our experience with our other platform that we had already started using, and worked with them to be able to get all their certifications. And then we tested it, and it just worked out great. And now UMA is one of our primary go-to options because it's very cost effective, very flexible from an architecture perspective, and it's just a workhorse. The other solution that we have, POTS in a box, which is a data remote based hardware, is it's a little bit more advanced than the UMA. The UMA is kind of like your Toyota Camry, just always works great, but sometimes you need a little bit more flexibility. You need a little bit more advanced calling features, for example. We have more control over voltage. We can change voltage on the lines because some older alarm panels require a certain level of voltage and these different types of things. So when we go through the initial inventory and we do our site surveys, we try to get as much information as possible, and then we can pick the best solution because you can mix and match because not one technology is one size fits all kind of a thing. So that's one of the big advantages of working with SpectraTel is that we have multiple options in our toolbox that gives us the capability to really provide the best service based on the specific technology that's required.
Yeah, and these are network diverse solutions, are they not?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the UMA and POTS in the box can connect both to your traditional wired internet service that can be existing corporate internet, or you can bring in a separate line. But they also run on cellular as well. And so you can even run the units in isolation just on cellular, and they both support multiple SIMs. So you could have a primary SIM, for example, like a smart SIM that has multiple carriers. and it chooses the best carrier. Then you can have a secondary SIM that is dedicated to like AT&T or Verizon or something like that. And so yes, so it's very unique and flexible to be able to do that. And so you don't necessarily have to have a specific type of internet or whatever. We can actually run these units in isolation, just on cellular if we need to.
Okay, great. So what advantages does SpectraTel offer in terms of nationwide reach and multi-carrier support compared to other POTS replacement providers? Is there any differentiators there for you?
I'll take that. I think a main talking point for SpectraTel is our hybrid approach, right? If you take, for example, UMA is one of the product sets on our platform. They're exclusive to an UMA, right? As we've mentioned, we've got a few different flavors on how we would service these customers. So we can do a blend hybrid approach. Maybe UMA is a great fit for a location that's got 3 lines because it's a 4-port box. Maybe another location has 7 lines, right? We would use data remote because that's an 8-port box. And so we'll take a hybrid approach and we'll compare all of our solutions relative to what the customer has and make recommendations on what we can do. I think the other big main point is and differentiator from a SpectraTel to like an UMA is that we aren't just a POTS transformation type company. We are a full managed network services company. So when you're thinking about your network aggregation, your SD-WAN SASE components, your UCaaS, your mobility, your POTS transformation, there is a collective group of solutions that we can offer the customer. So at the end of the day, they're really dealing with one provider, one bill, one point of accountability, which is highly attractive to some of these customers that have these diverse product sets. So just off the top of my head, those are a few of the differentiators that I see relative to a company like an UMA or say a data remote is our hybrid approachability across all of our product sets.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stood out to me that I learned about recently was that you can actually have multiple SIMs in the device. So if for some reason there's service difficulties with AT&T, it'll fail over to Verizon and still allow your elevator or your alarm lines to function as they normally would.
Yep. Correct. And Data Remote is now offering the ability to utilize 5G as well. So that's kind of neat is if a customer is looking at 5G as an option, Data Remote POTS in a box can absolutely work there.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier knowing you have that backup option. How does SpectraTel's managed network approach ensure consistent uptime and quality for critical applications that previously relied on analog lines?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So, as Brandon said, we are a managed network service provider. So, POTS replacement is just one area of the types of services that we provide. It's a big area, but it is one, and we have other solutions that we can layer on. And the big part about that is we're able to monitor these devices and take telemetry in from these devices and monitor uptime, send out notifications when an event happens. So like let's say power goes out and there's a switch over to battery, we can send out a notification that says, hey, you've switched over to battery, kind of keeping all of that information updated and proactively monitoring so we can resolve issues that if we have to. So being able to and also we can construct other technologies to go along with that. So if we want to, bring in a solution where we're adding failover, like another wireline failover for one of these devices, we can do that as well with different types of, SD-WAN technologies and things like that. And so our network monitoring is really a critical component to these services, so we can, proactively and predictively keep track of these things and make sure ultimately the idea is providing the best and most uptime as possible.
Yeah, and your portal, I think, stands out to me as being another great tool for customers. One of the biggest frustrations is if there is an outage, trying to get that update, that information, the status from the provider. And while somebody can call in the customer care, they can also go onto their portal and read tech notes in real time to show them where they're at. And I think that's a big time saver. And there's nothing worse when the president of the company's banging on your door wanting updates and you keep saying, I don't have any right now. I'm waiting to hear back.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a pretty stressful
Absolutely.
situation, because they don't generally have patience when things aren't working right. So give us a little bit of color on the portal. I don't expect you to go too deep, but tell us a little bit about some of the things that we can expect to see as if a customer does log in, what would they be able to see?
I can take that. So it's highly customizable. Customer can jump in, create the different widgets they want to see when they jump into their dashboard. But you have the ability to see service uptime. If we are providing a network, we're
Sure.
showing all of the preventative actions that we're taking as we're monitoring our clients. So that could be a power outage, that could be proactive cases that we auto open, that could be critical weather alerts or critical weather situations. And so we detail all of the preventative actions that we take within the management of the network and show what the preventative downtime looks like in hours, days, seconds, minutes, which ultimately shows the true service uptime figure. So the portal is very transparent. It's data that we're collecting. We have invested over $9 million over the last 24 months in our AI infrastructure. And so we're ingesting a lot of that data, and that data is allowing us to basically show our customers essentially how we're managing all of these services, right? As a managed network service provider, it is our job to ultimately do a very good job providing those types of stats so that our customers have that peace of mind knowing that we do always have eyes on the glass. You have the ability as well to open a trouble ticket, view trouble tickets, check out your billing, make a payment. You even have the ability to jump in and look at anything that's happening from a project management perspective. When we're doing these types of deployments, though, we do have project managers that are solely focused on these types of transformations. That's what they do day in and day out. But like you mentioned, it could be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You need to get an update on a trouble ticket or an order. You can easily self-serve by jumping into the Network Intelligence Center and capturing that information if you choose. But there's so much data. We're taking inventory. We're showing all of the different types of solutions that we're providing each and every client. If it's just PTAS, fabulous. If we're layering on additional services, you're going to have a full inventory stack of all of those services that we're providing. So
Right.
not only do you have that dedicated team, you've got that portal that you have access to, which is by far the best in the industry. We actually just won a Visionary Award for 2025 for our new portal, our Network Intelligence Center. So we're pretty excited about it. And it gives our customers a lot of visibility. We're fully transparent, and it allows our clients to make critical decisions based on information.
Yeah, I think the two areas that we get the best feedback on the portal is obviously it's ease of use, but the other thing is just tracking all the equipment.
Yeah, that too.
What's at each site? How many IP addresses do we have, and where are they?
Oh,
Those are little maintenance areas where companies have a hard time kind of managing all that, and having it in a single location makes it very easy. And while that doesn't necessarily apply to the POTS lines, it's more of the bigger picture. It is very helpful part of your portal that we get a lot of great feedback on.
Without a doubt, yes.
All right. Can you share how SpectraTel solutions help businesses achieve cost savings and operational efficiency when transitioning away from traditional lines?
yeah, I'll take that. I think it's one key point is we are and how we where we are founded, which is 30 years ago, is we started as a POTS company, right? I mean, this is certainly a product set that we know, and we know quite well. Yes, we are a sales organization, but 85% of the employees that we've got are all customer support facing. The idea behind that is really to have that process from point of signature to fully operational run smooth. It's understanding the scope of work that we've got. We'll come in, we'll do a side by side, as Jess alluded to, bill analysis of what you've got today. Compare that with the three products that we've got that could cover this, and make recommendations based off cost and need. The dedicated support team certainly is instrumental, right? Because they're going to be quarterbacking this whole process and set up whatever kind of cadence the customer wants. I feel as if we, in these types of situations, when you do a phased approach, let's say you have 1,000 lines, it's not something that you want to go, start to finish immediately. You want to be tactical. I can't even say that right now. In the approach and how we implement these types of services, we can go building by building and go whatever type of pace the customer is comfortable with. I feel that we are priced very aggressive. And mind you, what I had mentioned earlier is that we're not just a pods company. When you start to look at the holistic service platform that customers have, whether managed services, network aggregation, there's a ton of value that we could bring, all while having the tools of the portal at your disposal, which is valuable. And for any of these customers or partners that are on this call that certainly want to see that, we could set up some time offline and do a full demo for you so you can see the true value of it.
Yeah, one of the industry's dirty little secrets is hidden surcharges. I probably
Yes.
shouldn't do this, but one of the benefits of your side-by-side analysis that you shared a minute ago is that it allows people to see line by line what those charges are and see the actual final cost at the bottom. Because sometimes, I know this sounds strange, but the quotes don't match the bill. It's
Right.
odd that it happens, and I've
Yeah,
seen
that works.
the savings presented seems to evaporate when the bill comes.
Yes.
And even worse, I've seen it where suddenly over the course of several months, years, the bill increases significantly. And as the carriers are raising the prices on their POTS services, you got to pay attention to those surcharges because that's where they're going to be putting those additional fees. So the side by side's invaluable. Jessica, one other area that I wonder, I think is good, I shouldn't say what I think is going to be very impactful is the lines that people are paying for that they don't know exist.
Oh, it happens all the time. So
What's that part of it?
yeah, and I want to mention too, because we've been doing this for so long, we have identified a need and the importance of doing a site survey before we go out and send a tech to do the installation. And so our installation is a two-step approach, which makes us really unique. We allot 1 hour for a technician to go on site, identify lines, identify best placement for the device, right? We want to identify where the best signal strength is going to be for any 4G or 5G connectivity. Those are all very important things. We also want to identify how many lines we're going to be transitioning over. If you think about POTS lines and the time that they were possibly ordered and provisioned, they could have been there since 1982. We don't know, and everybody wants to just like throw it under the rug because it's something that they might not understand. They might not have been involved in those decisions when those POTS lines were installed. So having that technician go out and do the site survey is crucial because it allows us to capture all of the information, see all of the photos that we have taken in that site survey to send out a tech with a pre-configured device, knowing exactly what we're doing for our 2-hour pro install.
Yeah, I think that's a critical piece because a lot of these lines have been around for decades.
Right?
Companies have went through several different groups of staff and they've lost track of what's there. And I think I saw a number that 6% of your billing is generally unused lines that you don't realize are there.
We see it all the time. So it acts as a cleanup exercise too, because as we're identifying the need, we're identifying the waste. Let's get rid of those lines that you no longer need, and let's transition and get it onto new technology with the lines that are most crucial.
Great point.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Okay, so for organizations managing multiple locations, how does SpectraTel simplify the deployment, which sometimes isn't great with technology, right? We all have had some experiences there, and centralize management of POTS replacement services?
So we covered a lot of this. I'll take this one on. We've simplified the deployment. Although it is a two-step, it is simplifying because it's making that implementation from start to finish seamless. We're capturing data. We're not just questioning and making guesses. We know exactly what we're doing when we send out a tech. That is simplifying deployment. The fact that we've also put together that specialized PTAS, POTS transformation as a team group to project manage every single one of these implementations is key as well, because that's what they do day in and day out. So you're not working with project managers who are working in all the silos within the organization. You're working on with folks that are heavily focused on making these transformations. And then, of course, with the centralized management, having the Network Intelligence Center, our portal, having the ability to see everything in a single pane of glass and giving our customers that peace of mind, knowing that we're watching, we have eyes on the glass and our dual knocks. We have a knock in Neptune, New Jersey, and a secondary geo-redundant knock in Columbia, South Carolina. So we've got our team watching and ensuring that all of your all of your circuits, all of your boxes, everything that we're managing behind the scenes is up and running. So in the event that it's not, we're monitoring, we're going to automatically open up trouble tickets, you will be notified, and you can see all of that information in the Network Intelligence Center. So I hope that answers that question. That was a long-winded answer.
The biggest challenge in the telecom business, and this is going to sound kind of odd, is lack of communication.
Right.
How often are you communicating with the client during that deployment? Is it a weekly call? Is it a bi-weekly call, daily call, a report? How does that happen?
It can be a lot of things. So typically on a deployment, it's a weekly cadence call.
Okay,
Because
great.
we want to talk through all of the upcoming milestone dates. But on top of that, we also send what we call a tracker. And we send that about 15 minutes prior to our weekly call because it's got the most up-to-date information. But we also want it a certain amount of time so that our customers can review the data before we all jump on a call. But it is absolutely project managed. We've got a great team behind the scenes that's going to work directly with our customers, our clients, and make this as seamless and easy as possible.
So one question I get asked a lot is, can I keep my phone numbers?
Mhm.
They can.
Of
So you can
course.
port those over.
Yeah, you can port numbers. It is a little bit easier, especially because a lot of times you don't actually need to keep the numbers for alarms and elevators and things like that. So it simplifies it when we can use new numbers. But yeah, they can absolutely port existing numbers.
Yeah, if you happen to be using it for voice lines or for fax numbers, we do have customers that want to port those numbers, but typically, as Craig alluded to, anything that's life safety, we tend to bring on a new number because there isn't a need to port the existing.
Perfect. Well, good. Sounds like you've made it easy to transition to
Mhm.
the services. All right, finally, implementation. What does the migration process look like with SpectraTel from initial assessment, installation, and ongoing support? I've seen this chart. It's amazing, all the detail that you
Yep.
capture and all the communication that goes on that's a part of this whole migration. So maybe walk us through that at a high level, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked a lot about the two-site approach install. That's huge. Ongoing support, we have our premier account managers and our client account managers who can handle day two support. So when you have a new location or you have a move or a billing question, they're going to be your go-to. So we have the team built behind the scenes to help through the entire partnership, the life of our partnership, essentially. But I do want to talk about
Uh-oh.
from start to finish at any given location. Uh-oh.
You
You're
froze.
back.
You're back.
Okay, I saw it. It popped up and told me it was unstable. Sorry.
For the hotel. I think it's the problem.
Yeah, I can't control that, unfortunately. But where was I going with that?
Start to finish implementation.
We're 0 to 15 days. Thank you, Brandon. That is if we are not porting numbers. If we are porting numbers, obviously you need to allot for more time for that porting to take place. But we can make these transitions and these transformations happen fairly quickly. But we do have an entire, I think it's a 6-step approach where we do our pre-site, we have a conversation and do our kickoff call with our customer. We identify all of the information for every location. We do our due diligence. We identify our local contacts at all of our locations, and we start with our kickoff where we start doing our site surveys and arranging those to take place. Our technician's going to go out on site with a checklist. They're going to be taking pictures. They're going to be identifying all of those lines. From there, we're going to put together our installation, where again, tech is going to be on site with a checklist. Tech is going to complete the installation. That installation, that installation needs to be complete before that tech leaves the facility. So we test all of the lines, make sure the lines are up and operational and functioning before that tech ends his installation, completes his installation, I should say.
So hands-on people going out to the site and inspecting things. That's pretty unheard of in the 2025, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we can even take it another step where, in some cases with like older buildings, for example, like, warehouses, hospitals, where, they've had, just POTS lines just being added over the course of decades, really. And then, a new telecom person comes in or an IT person says, boy, we really have no idea what's down there in that closet, like just a rat's nest of wires. So we can even send multiple techs out at one time to do basically test and tone out all of the different inside wiring connections and kind of try and trace and track what's actually active, what isn't active, any wiring issues that might need to be resolved that, we can also do, or if they have their own cabling vendor. So that's another thing too that we find is very useful for these, like I said, these older, larger buildings that just really have just added so many lines over the years, and no one ever really kind of paid attention to that inventory. So we can do that as well.
Yeah, and just pulling a CSR is not enough because you might have 5 CSRs for your building, and so you
Yeah, right.
all the information you need on one sheet. You can miss things, and that's why the site survey is a critical piece of doing it right, and you're doing it right. So.
Great point.
I want to summarize a little bit of what we've talked about today. Is I think there's so much to unpack with the benefits of working with SpectraTel. So first of all, SpectraTel actually offers 2 industry-leading POTS box replacement solutions, plus POTS over broadband nationwide. So go ahead, Jessica.
With the POTS over broadband, we utilize 4 carriers, and I don't believe we mentioned this. It's Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, and Altice.
Perfect. No, that's good. And it's network diverse in almost all these cases, right? So with the exception maybe the broadband, you could have some duplicate network, but if you're using 4G, 5G, that's all network diverse, and that's an added benefit of using SpectraTel. When you bundle POTS alternatives with your managed data and broadband solution, you gain unified billing and simplified support. We talked about the portal. Now we got single billing. So another great benefit of working with SpectraTel. With fully managed monitoring, you get visibility into battery life, line health, connectivity status, all to minimize truck rolls and surprise outages that you and your team have to manage. SpectraTel's exclusive side-by-side bill review identifies those hidden charges to more accurately demonstrate their final cost. And SpectraTel provides complete project management to ensure a smooth implementation. I say this all the time, but low price is great until you had a bad implementation and it takes you 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months to clean it up. You're not saving money in that case. It's actually be costing you money, and it could be impacting your customer experience. So having a great project management, great implementation is going to be the key. And I've seen your implementations, I've seen your project management, and they're all very stellar. So if you have traditional POTS services today and you'd like to look at options and see that side-by-side comparison, bring your quotes, or we can dig up quotes for you. We'll make some recommendations and let SpectraTel do that side by side so you can make an informed decision on how to go forward. You also have access to Mr. Craig Hollister over there, who's very technical. He can tell you everything you need to know about integrations and what works and what won't work and why, and what color wires you need, all that kind of great stuff. Reach out to us at info@technologysource.com, and we'll put you in touch with the experts on POTS replacement. So thanks for joining us. Please join us next month. You can register on our website at technologysource.com. Next month, we'll be talking about penetration testing using AI to validate those results. So thanks for joining us. We'll see everybody next month. I want to thank